Last start, Gavin Williams flirted with greatness. It was that effort to try to be great that cost him and the Guardians in a loss on Wednesday.
Tanner Bibee of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome on into another episode of Locked On Guardians. Thanks for being here with us. It is our favorite half hour of the day. We hope it is yours as well, because it's where we cover your Cleveland Guardians every day for the next half hour, from the majors to the minors, the draft, and everything in between. So thanks for being here with us. I'm Justin Lada, one half of this podcast here for you. I've been here since October of 2022. I've been covering the Guardians minor league system since 2007 for the News Herald, the Morning Journal, and a host of other sites.
I'm Jeff Ellis. I just wandered in off the street. I'm kidding. I've been here since Locked On started with baseball. For that, I was a longtime writer at Scout and 24/7 focused on prospects in the draft. I want to take a moment and thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever you get podcasts. We're like a newsletter in a way that we show up every single day, no matter what, and you can count on us for your coverage. And I want to take a moment and thank you to some of our everydayers who left iTunes reviews: Smith Randall, Bulldog, JRB, and Eagle Rugby. Thank you to those everydayers. iTunes reviews, it doesn't matter if they're 1-star or a 5-star, actually help us. So, thank you for all reviews.
Yeah, thanks to the haters. A lot of haters, probably after Tuesday and our Wednesday night's loss to the Guardians. We're going to talk today about the importance of team chemistry and all that's happened to the Guardians this year, whether or not it's galvanized them. We'll talk about the important start for Tanner Bibee coming today. But of course, we have to start with Gavin Williams coming off of a near no-hitter and then was unable to follow that up with anything anywhere remotely close to that. Before we get to all of that, I want to let you know today's episode of Locked On Guardians brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So there's no getting around this one, Jeff. After the game, obviously Stephen Vogt wasn't going to say it, but Gavin Williams admitted it himself after the game. He said, not the best I felt. And he clarified that bad feeling with, I threw 127 pitches the last start. And even though I had 7 days to recover, the butt didn't recover as much as I would have liked, but I still went out there. He didn't make excuses. He said, I went out there and pitched today and I was not good. I had to be better. He said no excuses. But he said his body didn't recover the way he would have liked, even with the extra rest. So we can directly link the extra pitches that he threw, even after the Soto home run, to today's start against the Marlins, where he gave up 4 runs in the first inning, and he threw 30 pitches almost every inning, and he was out by the 4th inning. Which, as much as it hurt the Guardians in the end, this was a correction by Stephen Vogt, because he was like, crap. We pushed him too far last start, even with the extra day's rest. And we can't push him any further in this start. We need to get this, figured out. So his quest for perfection, or I guess we'll call it no-hitter, close to perfection, last week directly caused the issue this week. But I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how many extra pitches he threw after the Juan Soto home run. Was it 4? Did he walk the next batter on 4 pitches? Was Pete Alonso, right?
I'd have to see, exactly. I don't know, but either way, I stand by it, and I made that statement then, that you should have someone up, because the minute that happens, you need to yank him. His highest pitches thrown was 109 before that, ever. 109.
This is a guy with an injury history too.
With an injury history, who's had back issues, who's had elbow issues, who's had arm issues, has had a history of, health issues that are troublesome for pitchers. To then have him throw 20 pitches more than his high, that's why you don't, for lack of a better word, I'll say mess around. I was thinking of a different word, but you don't mess around with that. You yank him the minute that no-hitter is done, exactly for that reason, because every pitch after that just adds more and more. It's more, weight on that arm. It's more wear and tear. It's more of everything. And I didn't understand why he stayed in at that point. And then it was just, today we saw the cost of that he sat back and he wasn't sharp. It looked like Gavin from the start of the year, when he was, struggling with his command and was getting hit hard, and guys who don't even hit the ball that hard, were out there. He threw 9 more pitches after that. So
I'm going to say the 9 extra pitches probably wasn't all of that. The tipping point, I think it was everything, the culmination, honestly. And I mean, the fact that he was even there in the 9th inning probably was enough. That
it doesn't help,
not
though.
Something he's done. No, the 9 extra pitches definitely don't help. But I'm guessing that the 9 extra pitches, because there was nobody on base, I'm going to say whether he threw 9 pitches or 2 pitches after that, I don't think it would have mattered. I think the fact that he was at that point in the game anyway.
But why risk it?
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying don't risk. I agree with you. Like, he should have been pulled at that point. Even in hindsight, or even not in hindsight, you said that the day of, he should have been pulled in that start, looking back after the home run. But I'm saying it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because I think the fact that he had gotten that far in the game, and I even said, after that show, I said, like, a lot of his innings were low stress. Like, he had a really bad, second inning or first inning where he threw, I think, 30 pitches or whatever in that inning, but the rest of the game he was fine. And because he didn't allow a lot of base runners, his innings were all low pressure. But, it's something he hasn't done before. You push him the 9 extra pitches after that for some reason, because, they didn't
have anyone up. That's the reason. They had to get someone warmed.
They didn't want the appearance of something not believing in him, or not. I don't know, something about pitchers not wanting to look over their shoulder in a no-hitter and see someone warming up. I don't know. I don't know if there's some.
If he's that fragile, then he's never going to be successful. Let's be honest. That's just.
I'm not saying that's the case.
Like, I know that's what they said, but like
that's a general
silly statement. It's the same things we hear from like Vogt Vogt gives the worst press conferences. I don't think we have gleaned one nugget of information from him all year. He gives the most by the book, like, silly statements that aren't true, and we know it all the time. I'm not saying he's lying, but he gives you those very baseball adages like that.
It's a lot of words that mean absolutely nothing, right? Yeah. He went on the podium after the game before Williams, and he said, "I don't think it's fair to bring up his last start in this one." Well, yeah, you're going to say that because guess what? He made all those pitches. He left them in. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have left him in to try the no-hitter. You do that for sure at that point. But, yeah, you should have had somebody up right away as soon as the no-hitter was blown. And then Gavin said he didn't feel good. I'm wondering, too, nobody asked this, and obviously I didn't have a chance to ask, but he got 7 days of rest. Obviously, he needed the 7 days between starts, 6 days, 6 days between starts. He needed that because of what he did last start. But I wonder, like, these guys, because we get a lot of questions about, would the Guardians consider switching to a 6-man rotation? And I said no, because these guys are such creatures of habit. They depend on routines, that they are always going off of these routines, that making a start every 5 days. So I'm wondering what they had Gavin do differently, knowing he wouldn't pitch for 6 days, knowing he was coming off a start where he threw that many pitches. I wonder what was done between starts. Did they have him not throw a bullpen? Did they have him throw a different intensity of bullpen? Because that could affect things too, especially because he said his body didn't feel all that great after last start. So that I'm not saying that was the whole reason, but I think all those things rolled into one is why you saw what you saw tonight from Gavin Williams. And hopefully he'll recover from this and be better the next time out. I'm hoping this is an aberration just based on what happened in the Mets, from a carryover effect from the Mets start, because that was pretty bad. And then thankfully control wasn't really the issue. It was just he got smoked. Everything he threw. The Marlins refused to swing at his curveball. I don't know if he was tipping pitches, and they were just sitting heater. And when they got it, they absolutely annihilated it. Like, I'm just hoping it's carryover from the last start.
Yeah, hopefully it's a bump in the road. The other, he was facing a really great pitcher on the other side who's now had 2 bumps on the road. I know we'll move on, but I got to say the offense did enough to hang in a typical game. We had the bullpen explosion du jour. You kind of saw why we've talked about Allard and Fester, our guys we have on the cut list at the end of the year.
Yeah, we'll talk about the offense, we'll talk about the bullpen, and we'll talk about why today is such a big start for Tanner Bibee on the rest of today's Lockdown Guardians. I think we all live in a world now where our accounts are scattered everywhere. We don't know what we're worth. So it's 401ks, any property, any investments you've made. I know I have this problem. Believe me, I do. when you don't have the full picture, you end up leaving money on the table. And right now, who can really afford that? And that's why you need Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together. One clean and easy to use interface, whether it's on your laptop or your phone. It does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes. You can see clear data visuals, get a smart categorization, a list of your spending, so you can feel in control of your money without even touching any complicated spreadsheets. I have 401ks for multiple jobs. I'm sure most people do. This is one of those places that you can go, Monarch Money, to help sort all that out and have everything linked together. And it allows you to connect with your partner. And if you're working on financial goals, to set those together with Monarch Money. Don't let any financial opportunities slip through the cracks. It's too important right now. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Appreciate you all being here with us on Locked On Guardians. Win or lose, we're always here for you because we cover your Cleveland Guardians every single day. So make sure that you hit the bell on YouTube so you get reaction videos, you get breaking news videos, you get other fun analysis, and you get every episode, including the MLB Squad Show, coming your way on Friday, as well as auto-downloading on audio so you never miss an episode in your feed, and that helps us out a ton if you're automatically downloading. So we appreciate that. You and I were texting saying I don't think they were going to get to Yuri Perez at all because Yuri Perez is a bad matchup for them. Yeah. He's a fantastic pitcher. I saw him back in 2021.
Some of the best velocity in baseball, and they don't do well with that. Plus a killer changeup.
Yeah, it's a very bad combination for them. And I saw Yuri Perez way back in 2021. The first time I ever saw him pitch on the other side of the mound, Jeff, was Daniel Espino. What a mashup that was. I would have killed for that to be the matchup on Wednesday night as well, even though
he's doing bullpens, right?
Yeah, he's doing bullpens. As far as we know, he's doing bullpens. He's throwing hard. Yeah. Give our insiders some of that info on Monday during our insider chat. So if you want to be part of that, make sure you join subtext.com/LockedOnGuardians to be a insider. And that is also in your episode description if you're curious. But yeah, the offense did mount a comeback. They should have had, Stephen Kwan. We have to say this. Stephen Kwan hit a leadoff home run. He didn't do anything after that, but he hit a leadoff home run. So I will take that as 100%. A positive sign from him. They needed that so badly. And
double digits for him this year in home runs.
Yes. So hopefully that can be the start of a nice stretch for him if he is feeling better. And then Gabriel Arias. I mean, they should have had a run on a balk there. And then Gabriel Arias comes back, picks on a hanging curveball, ties the game at 4.
His best at bat. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Best at bat of the year by far. 9 pitches, right? I mean, he just
2 strikes, 2 outs, no less on that count too. No, it was a very, very important at bat, and they tied the game. And I thought, okay, brand new ball game. And then they made the decision to pull Gavin Williams, which 100% agree with, to try to correct the previous week's issue and get Colby Allard in there. But you and I have been talking about Colby Allard living off of smoke and mirrors for a while now, and he's not going anywhere this year. Like, they need him as far as mop-up duty, but not really shocked. The Marlins were on everything. They were on Gavin Williams' fastball. Of course they're going to be on Colby Allard's fastball because they were hitting 95, 98 from Gavin. What do you think they were going to do with 90 from Colby Allard, who doesn't have
his average fastball velocity is 89. The only pitch of his that's above 90 is his slider. So his slider is the pitch he throws at the highest velocity.
You sure it's not a cutter?
Well, according to Savant, it said maybe it's a sinker. Is there a chance I saw the I instead of an L? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, it said 89 on his fastball. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, Matt Festa was useful for a time. He's going to be here for the rest of the year.
Festa, his last 11 outings, I saw his ERA is like 1 and his WHIP is below 1. So like, he's been decent lately, but if it's always leaving him in too long or overusing him, and he was left in too long. They brought in Carlos Hernandez. I mean, their best pitcher on this night was Austin Hedges. So
my 3rd star of the game. I gave him the 3rd star, Kwan and Gabby, and then after that I'm like, well, let's give it to Hedgie.
Yeah, and they were able to avoid using obviously anybody else because they left Hernandez in there for 2 innings, and then they went to Hedges in the 9th, so they were able to avoid Zabrowski, they were able to avoid Gaddis, they were able to avoid Enright, they were able to avoid Cade Smith, so that's good. Especially because you have Tanner Bibee going today. This is an important start for Tanner Bibee, because yes, you do have the big guns in the bullpen rested, but you really need a stopper kind of start for, I know that's a weird phrase to put out there. Phrasing has not been really good for me lately, apparently,
No.
based on comments from Wednesday's show. But it's a big start for Tanner because Tanner has, gone through some struggles this year, whether it's bad sequencing, bad luck, just, overall command issues for him. And with Gavin not having a great start Wednesday, yes, you do have those big guys rested, but this is where you need your ace to step up. And if he's going to get back to being that guy, I would think that this start would go a long way towards, getting back to who we know he could be because of the situation. You want to win this series. You want to keep pace. Luckily, right now, as we're recording, the Twins are up on the Yankees 4-1. So they might get a mulligan in terms of the wild card, but you want to, try to keep pace at this point and not lose a day of where you can make up ground or not fall too far back. So you want to go out and win this series on Thursday, and you want the guy who's supposed to be your ace to go out and show why you can count on him to win a game where you want to be careful with the bullpen and you're coming off a game where you got absolutely smoked.
Yeah, so just to dive back into a few things real quick. One, I got to point out, Justin talked about how the bullpen's been the best in baseball, and we had our big debate yesterday. And then the next day, the bullpen definitely is no longer with the lowest FIP or everything else. So I think we know who to really blame. I'm kidding.
Can we at least acknowledge that none of the big most important arms didn't give any of these runs?
The thing that's interesting with Tanner,
you're right.
I just had to tease you that Tanner is really interesting this year. Because his first 2 years in baseball, his fastball and off-speed run value were great, and his breaking ball was bad. This year, it's the complete opposite. And the other interesting thing is Tanner keeps tinkering. Like, he's up to 6 pitches. He started as a 4-pitch guy. His arm angle has changed every year. And the biggest change in his Savant data is he went from low ground ball to high ground ball, which is part of that sinker. One of the problems for Tanner in general is his four-seamer isn't good. And that's the pitch he throws the most, and it's the one that has consistently negative values. And is a pitch like Lance Brzezinski talked about as one that doesn't really work against, I believe, left-handed pitching. But his cutter has been fantastic in the past. And this year it's not as strong. I still can't help but look at the sinker as the pitch, he's added. It's his 4th most used pitch. And I think it's not quite working. I know it was supposed to be part of that, giving him another, way to get or attack players. But I think having the lower ground ball rate is not as helpful as we all thought it would be. We've talked about in the past, like in baseball, a ball in the air more often than not is a positive outcome for the pitching team as opposed to the hitting team. A ball on the ground is more likely to result in a hit. Now, there is a greater potential outcome for a ball in the air, but Tanner's home run rate is saying relatively, it's actually higher than it's ever been. So even though his ground ball rate is higher, when guys are getting a hold of it, they're still hitting it far. So it's not actually reducing that. So instead, he's just having the ball on the ground more, which leads to more BABIP luck. It leads to more singles. It leads to more guys on base. So this shift in his approach, like, he has pretty drastically changed his approach as a pitcher. When you look at the adding of pitches, the changing of arm angles, the pitches he's throwing, how it's leading to changes with his ground ball rate and things like that. So I don't know if all the tinkering, I think he's always a tinkerer because he's a very smart guy and he's very talented and he's very athletic. I think being a tinkerer is going to make him, a great pitcher. And I believe in him being a great pitcher long-term. I don't want it to come off as like, I'm 100% not selling any of my Tanner stock. Let me put it that way. But I just wonder if maybe it's time to see how it works without the sinker, or maybe start to use it a little less, because I don't think it is giving him quite the same benefit. And when you look at just over the course of this year, in addition, June and July were the only months. I'm sorry, that's not true. May and June were his only months with a sub-4 FIP. In July was a 4.59, and that's home run rate was very high in July. In August, he's at over 5. Was over 6 for March and April. It's been a lot of ups and downs for him this year, and I just wonder, if what you said yesterday, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Maybe that's the problem right now.
Yeah, that could be it. I do think there are reasons to why he made those changes. We could talk about the context behind those as well. So we'll discuss more about what was behind those and what maybe Tanner can change at this point. We also got to talk about the importance of team chemistry and if the Guardians have been galvanized by anything this year, at least at this run they've been on since the middle of July. We'll cover all that on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians. All right, so you brought up a lot of good stuff there with Tanner, like all the data and stuff like that. So we do know some of the context behind those changes. We can at least explain why those decisions were made. So he lowered his arm angle last year because he was having some shoulder issues with the higher arm angle. But now this year his arm angle it's higher than last year, but it's not as high as it was in 2023. So maybe he's found a happy medium. We know in 2024 it was lowered because of shoulder. It was not causing an injury, but it was causing discomfort, which would have led to an injury had he kept it up. So that's why it was lowered. And now it's come back up a little bit as the year has gone on. And the sinker was added too, because you do need multiple fastballs. Let's be clear about this now. If you haven't heard this term before, it's something you're going to want to look up. It's called a bridge pitch, which is basically you're trying to create a pitch that simulates similar movement. So you don't want guys sitting on your four-seam fastball, because hitters these days are training to hit all velocities. They're training to make sure they're on your fastball. So even fastballs with good vert, if you're getting, Garrett Cole or whoever has a good fastball these days, level of vertical break on your fastball, hitters are still training to hit that. So you need that pitch between your fastball and something that moves depending on the direction your fastball moves. And for Tanner, that has been his cutter. So he has that bridge pitch that helps him not have guys sit on the fastball so it moves and it stays off the barrel, right? And it also makes guys think, well, is that the fastball? Is it the slider or the sweeper? Or it's the cutter. It's in between. So it gets guys in between. It moves differently. And the sinker, I'm pretty sure, and someone will tell us if we're wrong. I'm sure I'll get a phone call on Thursday. Sinker for him was supposed to be kind of a pitch that helped his changeup, because it has the same movement of his changeup, which is, to me, is his best pitch, which he actually has thrown less this year than the year before. I've always thought Tanner's changeup was his best pitch. And if you look at the data, that bears out this year. Actually, the sweeper has been his best pitch.
Yeah, the change is, it's interesting to add the sinker, which is supposed to help out the change, and the change is performing the worst it ever has.
Right, exactly. So I think the sinker part of it is, I think it's the command. I think the command of the sinker hasn't been there. I also think it's and then the changeup too. I also think it's usage too, because I looked this up the other day. Tanner is getting hit harder and more often when he's ahead in the count than he is when he's behind in it, which is really weird. So when he's ahead 0-1, 0-2, guys are actually hitting better off him than they are 1-0, 2-0, which doesn't make any sense, other than, I don't know if I can call it a fluke, or if it's literally sequencing, like what are you throwing 0-2, 1-2, you know what I mean? So maybe there's a little bit of both to that. And you would think that guys, and oddly enough too, guys are pulling the ball in the air against him more this year. He is having, they're pulling less this year. So you're right, that goes along with the ground ball rate. You're right. So there's a myriad of things that are all kind of coming together for these struggles. So it could be the tinkering thing, but we know why those changes were made. But you're right, maybe some of them are hurting grips, hurting command of other pitches, and maybe it's time to. I mean, his curveball's been a fantastic pitch this year too. So maybe it's time to sort of, rewire the sequencing and what pitches he's using on any given day. So we'll see. We all know he's going to want to pitch his rear end off on Thursday, because he knows the team needs him to come through with the big start. So, 100%. But as you point out in the past too, in those situations, sometimes the energy level comes up a little bit and that causes issues. So he's got to maintain the energy level to be at the right spot to come through.
And I do think, a lot of it's hard because his main pitch is that four seam, and it's just not a strong pitch. So, that cutter and the changeup have really set him up in the past to be more successful with striking guys out and things like that. And we're just not seeing that as much this year. I think it's about hitting the spots and things like that. It's really interesting. You don't see a player go through the changes that he has gone through, like through a successful career, right? Like a lot of guys settle in and add a little bit here or there. He has had big changes every year. He has added a pitch every year. He has changed his arm angle every year. He has changed like the order of like his pitch usage. He is a guy who is always looking to improve, which you want. And sometimes
that contract,
yeah, but sometimes, let's be honest, we've all done things in life where sometimes we have tried to make things better and we make it worse. That could be happening. Or maybe it's just like it's a new pitch and he doesn't have it yet. And then like next year we'll come back and that the sinker will be his best pitch. Who knows? But it is interesting. And because he is the player that he is, and because of his importance to this organization, we're going to look at it. We're going to take it apart. I think end of the day, I still have full faith in Tanner. I still think that, he is going to be a very good pitcher. I think, this is a down year, and we'll see. I read Lance Brzezinski's write-up, and it was very interesting because he talked about lefties versus righties, where really this year he hasn't been that much different. Lefties versus righties. Lefties aren't necessarily killing him, which was part of the reason he talked about some of the pitch mix changes. He talked about a true cutter for Tanner, but Tanner's got a true cutter, so I also don't know about that.
I mean, I think sometimes it kind of blends, and it depends on, I don't know. I mean, we've also seen in real time too, that Savant has errors. Like sometimes you'll see pitches classified improperly in real time, and then you go back 36 hours later and you look that it's been corrected. So that could be part of the whole cutter slider sweeper thing that is getting mixed up in there. I will say my guess, the reason his four-seam fastball has gotten hit more, and other things too, he's changed his mechanics throughout the year. When you make a mechanical change in season, that's why a lot of guys do this stuff in the off season, because when you're tinkering in season, it's very hard because you have a limited time to make that work. And it's a little easier for starters than relievers, but the lower arm angle is giving him a little bit less vertical break on the four seam, which is what made the four seam so successful his rookie year. So I'm guessing some of that has to do with it, which is why you do need pitches like the sinker and the cutter, because your four seam doesn't have the same shape that it once did because of the change in the arm angle. But it's just about the perfect balance of blending those things together. But when you're making those changes during the season, they don't always happen start to start. Like sometimes it takes a while to fix those things.
I was kind of curious. Oh, one last note.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
So I was looking at his Stuff Plus over on Fangraphs. It has his fastball at an 81. It's got it can't be right. A slider, Stuff Plus S. Maybe it actually has a SI. Maybe it's an SI for sinker at a 110.
SI is a sinker. Yeah.
Yeah.
SL
so it actually has his sinker at a 110, his change at a 112, his cutter at a 114. And then his slider at a 115. So he's actually got a really good Stuff Plus overall. So it could also just be bad luck, which happens in addition.
It does. And sometimes I can carry a whole year. All right. We want to talk about team chemistry a little bit. So I think it's fair to say, we heard from a couple of people, especially I know Zach has said it too, that the decision that Zach Meisel, that they said that the decision for the Guardians to clean out the lockers, that was a team decision for Ortiz and the closer, who I don't know why I'm saying Ortiz's name and not Clase's, but I don't know. It's the Ortiz and the closer who shall not be named. The lockers were cleared out because A, they needed space for CJ Capus coming in and other guys, but B, they wanted to get rid of the distraction. They didn't want it looming over their heads, and they played well since the second suspension. So, do you buy that this has, and Stephen Vogt, even though we know some of his quotes are literally just air and we can't take them, for more than the face value. But he did say on Monday or Tuesday that, he felt like the team has gotten closer over the last couple of weeks. I don't think it's far-fetched to think that this team has rallied around kind of pointing the finger at Ortiz and Clase and saying, you know what, to heck with you. We're going to be galvanized. The best word I can say is galvanized. They have been fired up by this, and I think it has played into their better play over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I don't know how much can actually make you play better. It's always interesting, or that's one of those things that's really hard to quantify. I do think it probably helped them come together as a team. I do think that one of the aspects of that when you're looking at a situation is, I think it just had royally pissed them all off for two reasons. One, it was incredibly dumb, and two, it sounds like what they were doing was very specifically also, hurting the team. Like, to intentionally throw a ball is to hurt your team. Like, there's no way around it. That is something where they were doing something that,
because Pete Rose only bet on the Reds to win, right? That's what he said.
Well, we also know that isn't true in retrospect. So,
that's what he's trying to say.
But yeah, so when we're going through it, it's that situation where when you are doing something that hurts your team and they're all working so hard, and a lot of these guys are, everyone's beat up, everyone's working through injuries, and for them to do anything that could even minorly affect the team. Like, it's a ball can very easily turn to a walk, which can be very easily, we see so many calls go either way, right? So
or a wild pitch even.
Yeah.
It's not good. Yeah. I think there is a bit of, every team needs that kind of rallying cry. I feel like there's always a theme to every year. Like you can go back and look at the party at Napoli's in 2016 and the winning streak. And
that one also had a certain F moment.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. They had their own in that season too.
Yes, they did.
2017, you had the 22 game winning streak. Now they were obviously very talented. And I know some people too have commented saying like, oh, well, they're facing bad teams. Like, yeah, but they also lost to some bad teams during the 10 game losing streak too. So,
and they swept some good teams in the Mets and the Astros. So it's like,
they did. Right. They absolutely
very
did.
weak argument in my opinion.
The Mets are really skidding though from last I checked. So, but that's neither here nor there. So I do think every team throughout the season, if they're going to be good, there's a rallying cry to kind of get behind. And maybe this was theirs. Like maybe, you always need something to pull things together. And every season's different. You don't get the same chemistry. I mean, anybody who's done anything in sports or life, everything is not always the same the second time around or the third time around. That was from a TV show. That was from a TV show.
Step by step, day by day. New coasters.
Okay, with step by step. Jeez, I didn't realize I was quoting a 90s bubblegum show, but everything's always different. So you need to find what's going to bring you together. And maybe that was part of it. Now they started winning before, Class A was hit, but they still played better since then. So maybe that was it. I don't know. There's always something that ties things together. Hopefully this was it for them because they sure needed it. And I'm fine with rallying behind that. All right, Jeff, you're soloed on Friday. What are you going to talk about? I know they had Guardians, Mets game 3, Marlins game 3. I'm sorry. And then the Braves Friday. What do you got?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the games. We're going to talk about, this series. We're going to check the scoreboards. We're going to talk about the upcoming Brave series matchups. And then with a little time left, hopefully in segment 3, maybe talk about the, what has happened in the minors with some of those recent call-ups. And I guess I should end with, we'll make it better the second time around before saying thank you for joining us. Remember to rate and review. Download daily. It helps. And go Guardians, go.